Good morning, everyone. Welcome to CafeYPanDulce. Alexa, stop. Oh, it worked again. Wonderful. What technology today? I want to welcome everyone to this week's CafeYPanDulce. Today is March 13th, and we have some wonderful special guests on our show today. Welcome to those who are watching on Facebook Live, who are watching us on YouTube, Instagram, and your other favorite social media apps later, if you don't have time to watch us right now. So we're going to get started here today with our guest. I want to introduce our guest, but also before, our topic for today is how can we unify Charlotte? And appropriately, the guests that we have hopefully know a lot about this topic, or at least know more than I do. I know we're going to start introducing our guests, and we usually start from our right. So as everyone knows,
oh my God! Good morning, buenos dias, everybody. This is Ruth Perez, community advocate for the city of Charlotte. I'm happy and glad that y'all are watching, so pay attention because we have some great news today.
Hi, I'm Steffi Hamrick. I'm the outreach coordinator for Project 70 Forward. We are a grassroots nonprofit advocacy group working with the disability community here in Charlotte. Thanks for having me.
Once again, I'm Christian Cano.
And my name is Jorge Millares. I am the founder and executive director of Queen City Unity, a nonprofit focused on unifying Charlotte, so I have no idea why I'm here.
Well, our guests are selling themselves short. Let me tell you who these really special people are. Everyone knows Ruth. She's a community advocate involved in so many issues, and our wonderful show sidekick here that just keeps me from laughing all the time. But you know, Jorge, you're the founder of the Queen City Unity. You're the executive director. Also, you were the first Latino to receive the City of Charlotte's MLK Keeper of the Dream Award. Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you also received an award from the NAACP as a community champion in 2018. Mm-hmm. So wow, you got a lot of things. Yeah. Thank you. You've been busy. And of course, Steffi, do you go by Steffi or
Steffi?
Okay,
yes.
Stephanie. Stephanie, of course, is
Steffi.
Sorry,
it's okay. Everybody gets it wrong at first.
Of course, is the outreach coordinator for Project 70 Forward. It's a grassroots nonprofit advocacy, as you mentioned, for the advancement of people with disabilities. You're a local Charlottinian.
There aren't a whole lot of us left.
Actually, I think you're probably only our third one.
Yeah.
Tara Long, who we had. Fudd, who is our token conservative on the show, my neighbor.
Miss you, Top Fudd.
Yeah, we miss you, Fudd. And you are an unapologetic leftist.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, well, you'll have to explain what that means. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So
that means if you say, well, that's socialism, I'm like, yeah, and?
Well, you know, we would be terrible if we did not introduce the sponsor. Once again, our Pandulce sponsor is Mrs. Heidi Blau from Blau Catering. Everyone, please help yourself to some Pandulce. Thank you, Senora Heidi Blau from Blau Catering. If you have catering needs for your office, your business, quinceañera, wedding, whatever, you just want some Pandulce to enjoy this beautiful spring that's coming in. 704-805-0269, 704-805-0269. She's also on Facebook, Blau Catering. We also, if you're interested in sponsoring one of our projects, please make sure you contact Kali Lily's event coordinator and talent agency at 980-477-1513. 980-477-1513. And also we want to thank our sponsorships, our media sponsorships that you can see on our Facebook page who are sharing our show as well. So let's get right into it. Oh, I forgot. Let's salute to coffee.
Thank you. I was about to jump in after that one. Salute. Cheers. Yeah. With coffee.
Yes.
Yeah, it's too early in the day for anything else.
And now
not in Mexico. In Mexico, you put a little bit of tequila to the coffee as well.
How do you know we haven't?
I think I saw a little bit of Kahlua, actually.
Exactly.
It's too early they do admit to it.
I want to let everyone talk about their buttons real quickly. We'll
Yes.
start from you. So while you're doing that, we're going to share on our social media pages. So
Awesome. As everybody knows, all the candidates for the rerun for District 9 started this week. So go ahead and register if you already registered. We need the Latino victory. We need those votes. Latinos, go out and vote, please. Also supporting Mr. Jeff Scott. Scott, we miss you. We know you're a big show right now. So Mr. Jeff Scott, he is I I don't want to put a tag on him.
He's an
Go into his
independent
page.
libertarian.
To me, he's not libertarian. But anyways,
Yes.
go into his page and search him up. He's a great guy. And also, guys, we need a gun reform. We definitely need. We're losing too many lives. We respect Amendment number 2, but please be conscious and go out and spread your word. No guns, please, especially for the teachers.
Well, you know, our director, just 2 seconds. Our director always tells us to keep our things short, and so Ruth always keeps us on time. So thank you. I'm sassy. So.
You're being sarcastic.
I am. Steffi, tell us yours.
Get off on him.
I don't have any buttons
If
on
you
me
had a
today,
button, sure.
but we do have the Project 70 Forward buttons on order. You need to check us out on Facebook, Project 70 Forward. That's the word forward, to see some of what we're doing.
Excellent. Well, my buttons, of course, I always have my Medicare for All button because I'm passionate about that. But interesting, I attended our monthly Moms Demand Action meeting last night, so I have my Moms Demand Action button. And as you mentioned, this is a very important issue. And I mentioned it last night with the ICE raids, because my fear is that there are Latinx neighbors who may not own guns who will now go out and purchase guns for their protection,
Yeah.
because who knows if someone from they may be some copycat ICE people that would dress as ICE and try to assault people. But they do have a program called SMART, and I want to everyone please go to the Moms Demand Action page. It's a program called SMART, Secure, Model, Ask, Recognize, and Tell. It's to how to practice gun safety in your home, and they can give these free seminars at your church, at your home, at your Tupperware party or essential oil party, whatever. So please support them. Shannon Klug is the volunteer lead for the SMART for Moms Demand Action Charlotte. I also want to thank Action NC for all the wonderful work they do, especially Gene Busley and Hector Vaca. There was a wonderful victory yesterday where Wells Fargo has announced they were no longer going to finance private prisons. That was a
Yes,
wonderful
I
victory.
saw that.
So thank you, Action NC, for the hard work you do. And I just want to do a shout out to our House Representative, Mr. Nassif Majid. He is a representative for District Number 99 in the House of Representatives. He is always out in our community, and I want to thank the things that he does. I saw him this last week, and John Altry and all of the other wonderful, Brendan Lofton, who's mine. So, as Ruth, I keep it short too. So
I'll try to
winner.
make up that time.
Yes.
So I don't have buttons on, but if I did. So the first one would be about our Queen City Unity Equity Ambassador Club. Ambassador program rather. So we're launching this at the Simmons YMCA over on the east side of Charlotte. And for those of you that don't know, Charlotte area schools are the most segregated in the entire state of North Carolina.
Yes.
Have been for some time, and actually from 2007 to 2017 it got worse. Racially segregated, economically segregated. So the purpose of the program is we're going to bring the youth and students, high school students, for an 8-week course from schools that are not demographically diverse,
Oh, wow.
being any school that's 65% or more minority students or 65% or more Caucasian students, bring them together for a 8-week course where they'll explore equity and equality education, poverty simulations, and really just break the social barriers that
Awesome.
their schools have created. And then the second button that I would have would be for immigration reform. And I think probably everybody at this table can agree that it's time for that. And we've been talking about this, for decades. And there are people on both sides of the aisle that want to make it happen in different fashions. But we're playing political games with people's lives. And it's time that we finally have immigration reform. So that's my challenge, is reach out to your congressmen and women, push for it. And of course, you all know I'm a big advocate of the city of Charlotte putting it on their federal legislative agenda.
Yes.
So that needs to happen as well.
Well, let's jump right into that.
I've never a fan of the city of Charlotte doing anything about it. I mean, I have all the faith in the world in Federico Rios, but those of us who have been in Charlotte for a while know that this city has a long history on essentially every issue of putting together a task force, making them bust their tails, getting their recommendations, and then doing nothing with them.
Getting the list,
Just completely ignoring
with the
everything that's
exclusion
been
that we didn't have Federico on board. So now that we have Federico on board, after 22 years that we've been fighting, myself, we can see some changes, and hopefully we'll make it, because we have 45 days, so we have to show
Uh,
something.
It's just whether they listen to it.
Just for clarification, for those of you who are watching us who aren't from Charlotte, who may be watching us in another region of the country or just don't know, who is the person you're referring to?
Federico Rios
He is been
He's
appointed
the
by the
manager.
mayor.
He's the city manager of immigration and integration for the city of Charlotte.
Okay, and he's been appointed to this board that Charlotte mayor started.
He's being
interaction.
appointed as a city staff. He will
Oh, okay.
keep he will try to close that gap and the
Sure.
bridging into the community through the city councils or the members of that committee.
Okay.
There's 4 of them, and actually Jorge and
Mm-hmm.
myself are also integrated, helping them and helping Federico as a right hand to keep that communication between our community
Excellent.
and city council.
And I'm sorry to add this,
Sure.
Steffi, I agree with you on the history of the task forces.
Yes.
And one thing that Ruth and I had said to Federico, even though we have the utmost respect and trust in Federico, we said, listen, we're not going to be a part of this unless you believe that the council will take this seriously, and they have to.
They have some great points that actually we
Yeah.
talked and we are working on, and hopefully we'll have some great news.
Well, Steffi, and the reason you have that concern is the same reason I think many of us have this concern, because remember 3-4 years ago they had the immigration task force.
Right.
They did this
And
wonderful
lit-
presentation. Mayor Clawfelter was the mayor at the time. They said, thank you very much. Val Lyles was on the city council. They said, we're going to take these things in consideration. Nothing was done.
Now, I
Well,
will say, not
Federico
a
was
lot.
hired.
One thing,
okay.
yeah.
That was
okay,
it.
he
That
was,
was-
okay.
That was
So,
the
yeah,
only
that's-
one of the,
right.
what was it, 27 recommendations that was made. The
Mhm.
only thing that was done was to hire Federico
Federico.
Rios.
Sure.
Right.
And
Which was
he-
a great idea, by the way.
He's,
Right.
he-
Yeah.
Just
and
point
he's
that out, yeah.
amazing. And
But the others
He,
weren't, yes, you're
when
correct about
when
that.
we've had concerns about how city policies have affected the disability community,
Mhm.
he's been very open to listening.
Mhm.
He's very receptive to the concerns of the community. My only fear is that the city council is going to tie his hands like they have
Sure.
with previous committees.
Yeah. Okay.
That's something that, when you mentioned 27 recommendation, let me clear this up. I've been with the International Cabinet for the City of Charlotte for the past 3 years.
Mhm.
And out of those recommendations, there's been a few that we've been working on. However, they have not been so brought to the city, but there are. We started the immigration integration program where we're facilitating citizenships and looking to gap into citizenship. There's many other recommendations that are not publicly, but we have been working with other nonprofit organizations. So, and that's their fault for
that's useful
not
for
kind
me
of
to know.
splitting it out. That's
Do you-
what I'm saying.
So a question I would ask y'all is the concern everyone has about these committees and these task force. I mean, does anything ever get done? Do you think one of the reasons why nothing seems to be getting done is because the city council and mayor only have 2-year terms, and so they can't? There's constant change because it takes about a year
Yeah.
to get the
I
task
think
force
that's a
recommendation.
part of
or
it.
sure.
I see
Um,
it as a
small
kickball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see it as a kickball.
I think I agree with Ruth. I think it's a part of it, and sometimes can be used as a little bit of a cop out.
Sure.
But it is
Yeah.
part of it. I
Yeah.
will attribute that to some
Yeah.
of it. Have been very vocal and will continue to be vocal about. I think the biggest issue, specifically when it comes to the immigrant community, part of it is a reluctance and a bit of fear
Mhm.
about the folks in Raleigh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we're not the only city,
Yeah.
right, that is trying to push in that direction.
Yeah.
So I think there's power in unity. And if we unite with those other cities that are pushing that same direction, we can make that progress.
And I
Exactly.
agree with him because actually we've talked about the General Assembly and
Mhm.
all the fears that they're causing. However, down in Charlotte, we need warriors. We need courageous people that will stand up and take off their hat and say, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try because you never know what could happen. And they're
Yeah.
they just don't know what to do because it's on their plate, but they just don't know how to
You
push
wanna
it.
One thing, I shared on Facebook and tagged a couple of members of city council, and there was a letter for individual city and county leaders in, I believe it was in the Triangle area,
Mhm.
Yep.
it, separate from the letter from the mayors.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I tagged a couple of the city council members in it and asked, why can individuals not do something like this in
It-
Charlotte?
That's
And what Braxton Winston and Plasmir both said is, this council doesn't have the political will. I'm like, I'm not asking about the council
Yeah,
as
do it
a
as an
group. I'm
individual.
saying, why haven't you done it?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. We've had that conversation on here before. That I understand the talking points about, well, Raleigh and this, and I know what we say all the time. Well, then if you're concerned about Raleigh, then run for a state race,
If
state
we
office.
have, like, if we
You're-
have 4
you
council
ran into
members
city council.
saying we need to do this, then why don't those 4 council members get together and issue a joint
Well, you
statement?
know what? City council doesn't really have too much power into our city as well. I mean, at all. I mean,
Let's get rid of them then.
let's be clear.
Yeah, let's get rid of the
You
city
know who
council.
will actually we have to reach out to?
Mhm.
City manager?
Start it off. No, not only the city manager. Starting off with community leaders
Sure.
and business owners.
Yeah, the
If
chamber.
we stand up and
exactly.
start writing declarations on behalf of what's going on with ICE rates, I bet 100% that
She brings up a good point.
that
Well-
city council will do something.
Well, we
city
have-
manager will
Yeah,
do
if you've
something.
got Wells Fargo,
Sure.
Bank of America, and all these
Yes.
other
Yeah.
organizations, right? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
we've.
even the city
yeah.
has to go and convene with venues
Mhm.
by the American
Sure.
Bank of America,
Mhm.
by the main
Yeah.
museum. Nothing is being owned. They have to go and borrow or rent and fund it. So if they stand up and do something about it for protection, not only for our
Sure.
immigrant, that's something that we have to kind of take it out.
Mhm.
We are here for our city,
Sure.
the
Well-
city of Charlotte.
Well,
so,
Ruth, you and I have had this conversation, and everyone who's been on the show's had this conversation. We know that the talking points that we're afraid of Raleigh, or we have to have 4 votes, or 5 votes, or we need a committee. We know that's a farce, because there are many instances, and there have been many issues where they do things within 2 weeks. With the non-discrimination ordinance,
Yeah.
with the HRC came in, and they came in, and within 2 weeks they had it on they voted on it.
Mhm.
And they didn't care about Raleigh at the time. When the General Assembly was going to take over our airport, they went against them. So they're very selective in what they make a decision they want to, in my view.
They want to manipulate.
Yes, and so I agree. We do need to somehow get them to speak out. And just because you're an elected official doesn't mean you can't have an opinion or a voice.
And not only that, but if we stand up as leaders and as business owners, and we connect with those that are really doing this stuff, the task
Mhm.
down in Raleigh and
Sure.
try it, and we actually get endorsements
Mhm.
by them,
Sure.
but approving
Yes.
our statements. That's gonna
Yeah.
make it stronger for us, and they'll be challenged.
yeah, and that's where the unity I speak of
Yeah.
comes into play, because there's power in numbers, right? And there's going back to the financial the impact, right, with the
Oh, yes.
businesses. There's power there too, right? Show me your wallet, and I'll show you my interests.
Mhm.
Is how I think a lot of cities operate. And
Sure.
Imagine, do you know? Have you ever heard of Cooperativa Latina, the bank accounting
Mhm.
Yeah.
banks? That's
Mhm.
focused on Latinos.
Well,
What if we go and talk to all of our community and
Sure.
say, take out all your money from Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and go to Cooperativa?
well, that's why Wells Fargo made the decision to stop
Right.
financing.
Well, not
was
only
because
that,
they
but
were
I mean,
afraid.
I'm talking in a
Sure.
local way,
Sure.
in a
Yeah.
local. Believe me, city council will come up and do something about it. 'Cause
Well-
they don't want to lose Bank of America.
Well,
they
I-
don't want to lose Wells Fargo.
Well, I agree, and one of the reasons that so many companies are looking at Charlotte is
Mhm.
because we have this slogan that we're an opening, wonderful,
Welcoming.
city for
Welcoming.
everyone. And all it's going to take is some of their employees, whether it's the ones that are moving here or the big ones in Ballantyne or Bank of
Mhm.
America. And once they start feeling unwelcome, which some do already, they will start to notice. Hopefully we don't have to get to that point. We had that conversation right before. We don't have to create the wheel in Charlotte. There are other cities that have been through situations like ours. How do we learn from them? But to our topic, how can we unify Charlotte? I mean, is it possible to unify Charlotte? Are we just going through growing pains, or what do anybody want to jump in for that?
Okay, so
Yeah,
personally, my thought is that what has to happen is a massive cultural change,
Mhm.
because Charlotte has become a city of appearances. We want to claim that we're unified and welcoming, and that everybody has the same.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, with public housing in this city, for a disability accessible unit, there is a 5 to 10 year waiting list.
Oh yeah.
I have clients who are going to die before they get units. Like literally are so sick that they will not live to see a public housing unit for them. If you go into the city government building over on Parkwood in the Belmont neighborhood, the regular restroom is open to the public, but you have to find a security guard and get permission
Wow.
to use the accessible one because there's a lock code on it.
How, Steffi, and I know that's what you do in your advocacy group and stuff. And I'm embarrassed to ask a question like this, but don't we have, and maybe there are other people who will say, how is that possible? Don't we have federal legislation, disability legislation, or for buildings and so forth?
There is,
that
but
not-
there are.
I don't mean to put you on the spot like being a
the
legal
te-
expert, but you know.
The team that does it
Sure.
at the city level is beholden to some of the other disability organizations in
Mhm.
Charlotte that do not necessarily take the same stance as we do.
Sure.
We work from what's called the social model of disability.
Mhm.
What that means is that while a person's physical limitations
Mhm.
will limit their abilities,
Mhm.
what truly disables us, keeps us from public life,
Mhm.
are the structural barriers in place that that have to be torn down.
Mhm.
You've seen in the city council chambers, you saw how I was limping trying to get down there
Yes.
because
Mhm.
there are all those stairs down to the podium and then stairs back up.
And I completely agree with you. And they don't. And those of us who've been to city council meetings before, unless you've been to meetings before, you don't really know that you can access a different way through an elevator. I didn't know that until I saw
And
someone
nobody will
coming
tell
from
you.
that. They don't
Right.
say if anybody needs assistance before you walk in, go that way. They don't really tell you that.
And
you
there's
kind of have
no-
to find out
there's
for
no
yourself. No one to help
seating.
you. Yes.
There's no seating if
Yeah.
you need disability access,
Sure.
and
Yeah, you have to kind of sit next to the dais, I think, is kind of, right? Like right on.
which
Yeah,
is,
there's like
which
this
is
entrance.
super awkward
Right,
and
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
very othering.
Yeah.
So can we unite in the city of Charlotte, or is that?
I got a thought. I think the first thing, right, is we're a city of transplants, like we've been
Mhm.
talking about, right?
Mhm.
And we don't have an identity.
Yep.
So you can only really unite around an identity.
Mhm.
Otherwise, what are you uniting around? So I think there's a lot of different Charlotte identities, right?
Mhm.
There's the identity of we're a welcoming city,
Mhm.
right? There's the identity of we have a history of segregation and racism,
Mhm.
To that
Yeah.
point, Bank of America Stadium is actually built on the site of a lynching.
That I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, it boils down to that is how do we identify and create the identity that a majority, because not everybody's going to jump on board with the same identity, but that a majority of the city can say, yeah, that's the
That's
city
the
that
real.
I want to be a part of. Yeah. So that's the first step.
Okay.
Yeah.
And once you have that, then now you have people, you can galvanize people, bring them
Mhm.
together around that particular, whatever that identity may be, right? Because
Mhm.
I'm not here to create an identity. I
Yeah.
think it would take a lot of people to create
Sure.
that. But I think that's the first step, is creating the identity of
Yeah.
Charlotte.
I mean, a question, and this is because it's been in the news this week, and I, as an avid sports fanatic, I'm all about sports. Everyone knows during football season I don't go to any events during Sunday footballs and during
Are
certain
you a
college
Panther
season.
fan?
I am
No,
a
he's a
Panthers-
Dallas Cowboy.
I'm a Panthers fan as long
I
as
gotta
they're
go.
not playing the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm a Panthers
That's fine. That's
fan.
fair.
We're
I can take that. I'll take that.
But I am completely against taxpayers subsidizing billionaires to make a profit.
Yes.
So I'm completely against taxpayers paying
against
for new
billionaires, period.
stadiums. Well, paying for new stadiums, and I understand that a lot of cities try to bring their city around sports franchises.
Right.
I think that's a mistake because first of all, not everyone's into sports,
Mhm.
and the person who really benefits is the owners. And what I've said before is, just this last year, Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys just bought a $100 million yacht. The owner of I don't know if the Patriots or whatever got
Probably.
a $200 million yacht or something with
No, he got arrested also.
That's true.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was on his way to Disney World. I
my
tell my
God,
Patriots
yeah.
friends.
Go girls.
So my point
Oh,
is,
yeah, I heard about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
my point is,
Good guy.
I hope that we don't have people on the city that believe that the city needs to unite around the Carolina Panthers.
No, I don't
No,
think
I
that's
mean,
not-
we need
I
to
hope
unite
not.
about something because that
Mhm.
seems to be.
No, I think-
it's a natural thing. I mean, we do.
Well,
unite
not
around
really,
sports.
because what I heard was David was trying to.
He's trying to build in South
Yeah.
Carolina. Yeah,
go somewhere
let him
else.
go.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
I agree with you and Jorge, but we also have to understand that we have power on our voices. We have to change that mentality out there.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
You mentioned they know us by the diversity, by welcoming America, by being a welcome city. The way they have us tagged down throughout the nation, and I did some of my research, the faster growing economy, business, city. That's the way we are named. Now, when they arrive here and they really, really see the struggles that we're going with our homeless,
Right.
with our
Income inequality,
living,
with
housing, affordable housing,
LGBT,
all the conflicts and stuff, all the different areas that are not even shaped up or kind of cleaned out just because they're, to their mentality, raggedy.
Right.
East Charlotte, West Boulevard, East Boulevard, you know, their corridor, nothing is being done. If we don't stand up and bring that unity to them, they will not get it done.
That's a good point.
You said there's no one that comes and asks us if we have access to handicap or disability. Why should we? Why should they have?
We strongly prefer the term disabled, not handicapped.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Disabled.
Thank you for
I
When
like that one, I guess.
yes, I'm learning. Why can't we just educate our community and say, ask for what you need? Because there is a limit, and there is a little gap. There is access, but we have to ask for it.
Well, that's
Once we ask for it, let's spread it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Steffi, you
Can
want to say?
can I make a point to that? Last summer, I had a meeting with Charlotte's ADA team, and it was an absolute disaster. I came in with a list of points that we wanted to make. They brought in a woman from another disability organization who, I'm not going to talk bad about anybody, but
Oh, come on, that's the fun of our show.
okay.
You gotta speak up.
We need rating.
Okay, I'm not going to trash anybody by name. However, I know
She's down the road.
Unless you really, really get her mad.
Their initials are.
But I will say that this person from this other organization was there specifically for the purpose of stonewalling our objectives.
Oh.
And when I tried to reschedule that meeting to meet just with the people I had agreed to meet with, they refused to meet without a representative of this other nonprofit.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
So
and this is. I'm sorry. Finish your point, Steffi, I apologize.
there is a point in our leadership where they don't want to hear concerns they would actually have to act on.
Let me ask you that. Did you request a meeting by yourself or with any other advocates? That's something very crucial and very important. I want to suggest that to our community listeners.
So, Ruth tip of the day
Make sure
is
whenever you want to meet with any city officials, any city council, city manager,
take a posse.
whatever.
Bring the crew.
Bring the crew, exactly.
Bring the crew.
That's not bad. That's good advice.
On that note, we're going to pause just a second, just to remind everyone. We want to thank our Pandulce sponsor, Bilal Catering.
So good.
She continues to do such a wonderful job. 704-805-0269. And believe it or not, since she's been a sponsor, I've actually lost 4 pounds.
Really?
Let me shovel this out.
Wow. Yeah, you more. Give me more.
And I've been on the treadmill because my doctor's forcing me to. But at the same time, I'm not saying that it's going to do the same for you. But I'm just saying that it's very delicious. Bilal Catering, 704-805-0269. And
Anybody.
yes, and she does delivery as well. So it's wonderful. If you'd like to sponsor one of our future projects, sponsor one of our future projects, and also
Don't even
get your product or service out to the fastest growing demographic in the city of Charlotte, in North Carolina, and in America, our Latinx community between the ages of 18 to 45. The median age of our Latinx community here in North Carolina is 25, 26, or 7. Don't quote me on that. The median age for our African American brothers and sisters is mid-30s, and the median age for our Caucasian or whites, I guess, is in the 40s. So we are the fastest growing and in CMS, and so in unity with our Black brothers and sisters, we are the future of Charlotte. Some of the people who don't want to see change here in Charlotte. But that's the question.
What, you mean like minorities are treated badly in this
Yes,
country or
well,
something?
They don't want to see what?
You know, we talk about that a lot on this show about the struggles that people have had in Charlotte and so forth, and that is one of the reasons why, you know, groups like yours and all of the work that y'all do is so important, because the city of Charlotte is not unique in that we're going through incredible growing growth, and we're going through growing pains. I think Nashville is also growing just as fast as we are. The city of Charlotte was ranked number 3 for the third friendliest city in America, second to Raleigh. And so there are some good things. The problem is, and the reason we're bringing these concerns is because our love for this region, our love for Charlotte, that we're growing in spite of the obstacles that are put in front of people that are making this grow. And if we don't address these issues, if we don't have unification plans or talk about those issues, then we will become, and I don't mean to say anything bad about Atlanta, we will become just a big Houston or Atlanta that is kind of dysfunctional in certain ways. And I love Atlanta, but I'm just saying is that we have the ability to become the new capital of the South, from banking to exporting to insurance to technology to so many things, if we can appreciate the fact that the people that have moved here bring so many wonderful different ideas.
And here's what's really cool about Charlotte, right? So
I'm not on the visiting bureau.
Here's what's really cool about Charlotte, though, is, you know, I come from Miami, where you know, this city has grown to millions and millions of people, and you know, Charlotte is wet clay right now, where we can mold it to whatever we want it to be.
I'm writing these things down. City of appearances, wet clay. Okay, good.
It is wet clay but here's the issue: is that if we wait too long to mold that clay, it's going to dry up, like Ruth said. And once it's dry, it is so hard to change the perception and the appearance of the city. You know, so anyway, that's just something that
when you mentioned wet clay, and that's something that remember I made my comment, my 10 cents comment to the mayor between county and city.
Yes, I remember that.
Just the way we are right now, it is important for us to raise up and unify them first.
That's great.
They're not going. They don't know where they're going.
No, they do.
One's going one way, the other one's going the other way, and they're operating differently.
Yeah.
We have to bring that to the table and let them know.
I like what you said, and I'm only writing these things down is because people who are running for office always ask me, you know, what are the things we can say? I like that wet clay thing. I like the city of appearance. Those are good talking points. You guys can be political strategists. And do that. Or go into politics. Gosh knows we need people like y'all. So,
next topic.
Jorge doesn't want us to put him on the spot.
Here first. Well, let's talk about how can we protect our Latinx neighbors. We've talked about how we can unify, and we've got some great ideas, and I know that's a long conversation that we need to have, but we do need to have that on a daily basis. And, you know, like any family, the city of Charlotte, we're always going to have obstacles and bumps and families, people who disagree. It doesn't mean that we don't love each other. It just means that we have differences of opinions. So how can we protect our Latinx neighbors from these ICE raids, which people are now paying attention to? And like I said last night on Moms Demand Action, I have never been a gun owner in my family. I have family members that are gun owners and shoot out in the woods and go
Texas,
hunting.
I would assume.
Well, in Georgia and all around the country.
I grew up with
and so
deer
forth.
meat on the table.
Yeah, come on. Have you ever heard deer fajita? Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, yes.
Well, anything. Any
I want
fajitas.
some of that here when you invite me back.
Yes. That'll be an
And
evening
in
show.
country, it's called vaca frita.
Vaca
Frita.
frita.
Oh, well,
yes.
Okay, well, I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, so anyway.
How can we protect our Latinos?
Okay, that's right. Thank you. Just keep going. So, what I said is, for the first time, I'm actually considering purchasing a firearm for protection. And whether it's a concealed weapon or not, I have not made that decision. But I'm actually that's why I need to make sure that I've been to gun ranges and I understand that. But I'm concerned about person's protection because with these ICE raids and the rhetoric that's coming out, and we go to so many events in Central Avenue, South Boulevard, you know, if I'm
And
not
you're pretty
dressed
recognizable.
well, if
Yeah.
I'm not dressed in a suit or something, what the ICE guy said, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time,
Right.
I'm paraphrasing whatever. And if someone just comes to my car and says, hey, whatever, I'm going to protect myself. And so anyway, I'm considering purchasing a firearm, which I'm sorry that we've gotten to the point, but how can we protect our Latinx neighbors from these kind of situations? Anybody?
That's a great
It's a tough question, but
Yeah.
Steffi, you're going to be the expert on this issue today. So this.
When the ICE raids first started happening, Comunidad Colectiva, which is an amazing organization, got a bunch of flyers together, and a bunch of us out of the community came and volunteered, and we were handing out flyers that described what people's rights are in the events of
Yes,
ICE
that's
raids,
right.
because they will not tell you that you have legal rights.
Yeah, they intimidate you.
They won't tell you.
especially if you're
They
kids.
won't tell you that you don't have to answer the door unless they have an order signed by a judge.
Mhm.
They will not tell you that you have the right to remain silent, and they will not tell you to ask for an attorney.
Mhm.
It's not like a criminal charge where you are read your rights.
That is very important for people to hear, and I know we talked about that when Hector Vodka from Action and C was on here.
Right.
But repeat what you said, because what people, and I know people, we know this, but a lot of people don't understand that being undocumented is a civil violation,
right.
not a criminal violation.
It's a civil offense,
It's
right?
Civil
essentially
offense.
equivalent to a traffic ticket.
Right.
Sure.
And that means that ICE agents do not have to read you your Miranda rights as if
Okay.
you're being arrested for a crime.
Sure.
That does not mean you do not still have them.
Mm-hmm.
If they come to your door, do not open it unless they have an order signed by a judge,
Sure.
not one issued by an ICE administrator.
Sure.
If they ask you questions, do not answer and ask for an attorney.
And I've asked this question before, and when Jeff Scott was on our show, who Jeff Scott right now I believe is on the Pat McCrory show on WBT radio.
To be clear, I am not an expert on
No,
this.
I understand that, but I've asked this question that I'm the Tea Party individuals that are against government tyranny and don't tread on don't take my guns and my Bible. Why aren't they also in an uproar that the government is doing these kind of things?
I think it's
we don't
because
like.
they view that community as,
Yes.
as illegal, right?
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
going back to Steffi's point, it's a
Yeah.
civil offense, so that's not a crime. Therefore, you're not illegal. So I think that
Let me kick that in. Let me clarify some of those points, and I do agree. And I'm a huge supporter of Comunidad Colectiva, and I'm applauding them for all the work that they do. But if y'all notice, ICE changed their method of arresting now. They're not just going into their houses. They're approaching to the very Latinx community
Right.
shopping centers,
Yep.
Yeah.
restaurants,
And that's what everyone's big
grocery stores.
concern is.
Now, yes, you are right. Being undocumented in the United States is not a felony. It's not a federal charge or a criminal charge. However, the majority of our people that are being tracked down are due for a lot of lack of knowledge of their behalf. Some of them, I've been helping around, they've had a ticket a few years back, never showed up. That becomes a warrant for their arrest.
Ruth, the argument that we hear all the time with people, our neighbors and so forth, is, but they shouldn't be here in the first place.
And
They're
yeah.
illegal. That's what they call.
And
They
then-
use the term
And
illegal.
then we also hear,
Or
why don't they just become legal?
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Well, there
It's
isn't
not
a
an easy
clear
step.
path. It's not. There's not a clear path to citizenship if you are
Yeah.
undocumented in this country. And I think that's what a lot of people fail to understand, right? And speaking to the Latin American Coalition over there's a screening process that
Yes.
they go through, and it's only 10 to 17% of people that go through the screening
certain cases.
qualify.
Yep.
Just qualify. That doesn't mean they'll get it to receive legal citizenship, right?
Which is the reason to your
For immigration
reform.
reform.
The
100%,
reason
yes.
we need immigration reform is because it is so dysfunctional, and there's a lot of stuff that's not going on. And we almost had immigration reform until it was
was close.
It was closed.
And
the last time was Reagan, I believe.
And the
Yes.
biggest issue that I have with this is, and I spoke about it at City Council, and I'll speak it to anybody that's willing to listen, is the economic impact
Sure.
of the undocumented. So not just the
Yeah.
immigrant community. The immigrant community is huge economic impact.
Mhm.
But think about just in North Carolina, undocumented immigrants, right? $277 million a year in annual state and local
Those
taxes.
were good numbers when you said that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if they were granted a path to citizenship, that goes up 34% to $371 million a year.
Okay, well, here's another argument that we hear all the time. The reason the liberals want these illegals to, I wanted a segment on this show called "Bless Your Heart." It was a character,
I like that.
but
I did
Chastipa
that
voted.
this morning. I'm sorry.
Chastipa voted me out, and I was going to put this. Anyway, I should say that.
but to bless their hearts, they'd have to have them.
Oh well,
Oh.
so the Bless Your Heart crowd in Charlotte and North Carolina says, well, the reason the liberal, I gotta do that, Charlotte. The reason the liberals want these illegals here is because they can all vote Democrat. That's really why they want them. They're just trying to get their votes. They don't really care about them.
Right.
We know that's not true because many undocumented
cannot vote.
exactly, they cannot vote. Also, many of them are very conservative
Correct.
Right.
politically,
Absolutely.
and they tend to vote for certain specific issues, which is why Mark Harris won. Not that undocumented people voted. I don't want to start that rumor that undocumented people voted for Mark Harris,
But
but
Latinos,
they were,
but
they were
Latinos-
very
Them.
pro-life.
Yeah, my
The
message, and they
documents.
are. Yeah,
Yeah.
but here's my message back to them is you can court
Exactly.
that base.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
try to
Yeah.
think about them as individuals and
Yes.
as humans and try to court them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's mind's made up. But to your point, you're right. There are already a lot of conservative beliefs in the Latin American community. So it may not even be that hard to try to court them,
Nope.
but you're not making an attempt. Therefore, you're probably right.
Well, I have made this argument on here before, and I continue to make it that I have been very concerned and discouraged about the lack of outreach from our North Carolina Democratic Party, specifically in Mecklenburg County and Union County, and our state chairperson to try to recruit Latinx candidates.
Yep.
They always get behind a white candidate. If it's a black candidate, they say, well, let's wait to see if they can raise money. But whenever a white candidate decides to run, we got to unify, we got to get behind them. And what I've said is that this is not only is it a huge strategic mistake, but it is going to take a generation to recover. And all we have to look at is Arizona and Texas, where the Latinx community were ignored by the white Democrats during the 80s and 90s, and they have gone through 30 years of only electing Republicans because they have been voting for Ted Cruz's and so forth. And so even though that's my fear here, is because there is that thinking that it's going to take at least a generation to the Democratic Party to recover, and we may go through which I'm sure someone like Pat McCrory and some of the other individuals will be happy to hear, but it's going to take a long time to come back from that. So that's my
One thing too, to go back to the point about, well, why don't they just come legally? People don't understand that the immigration system in this country has always been structured to favor white people of European descent. Even going back to as early as the early 1800s with the Chinese Exclusion Act, every regulation that has been put down for limiting immigration into this country has been to limit everybody but white people.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're sitting next to me today.
I think thinking
That's what I used to say.
about the protection, right,
Sure.
of what's happening on the streets. That's the real thing that just called me to action when I just got
Sure.
infuriated when I heard about ISIS tactics. Most people think, to your point, that they're just knocking on doors saying, "Hey, excuse me, we have a deportation order.
No.
Will you
Yeah.
please step outside?" They're not. They're they're banging on doors while mothers are hiding inside bathtubs with their kids, right? They are racially profiling
Yes.
all people that look like me or Ruth, and you too, of course. But we're being racially
Go
profiled.
on your hair, please.
Yeah, but we're being racially profiled, and I know people that are legal citizens. I know natural-born citizens that have been racially profiled,
Yeah.
and I know you know many
Oh,
that
yes.
just to me, that just blows me away because I encourage them to pull me over or to try to come knocking on my door.
I have said that.
Yeah. And to me, that is infuriating. And impersonating police officers.
Yes.
Or workers.
Right.
Or
and impersonating workers. Right.
Yeah, construction workers.
Yeah.
Impersonating them.
That's it
For a civil offense.
Yeah, that is a concern, and just their tactics and the lack of oversight. That when you complain to them, when we've been to some events where we've heard ICE talk, especially with the old sheriff, and we've shared the concerns, and the response has been, you don't like it, tough luck.
Yeah.
What can you do? Because there's no because they're under the Department of Homeland Security.
Tracking down a person that had committed a crime or has a warrant
Yes.
or a court order deportation, I respect that. Okay, fine, but let
That's
them
not what
fight.
they're doing.
But that's not what they're doing. They're like yesterday. They pick up not only one.
Yeah.
They empty out that van,
Yeah.
the work van.
Yeah.
Now, why would you show up to workers that are trying to go to work, not commit crimes, not to do things? Worry about the ones that are really
Right.
disrupting
And-
our city.
And when they did the 200 plus the detentions, they were very clear that about, I think, 20 to 25% of them had no deportation
Yeah.
records
Yeah.
and had no criminal records.
They were just caught in the net.
They're just
Yeah.
caught in the net,
Yeah.
right? And to me, that's
Well, let them out.
unacceptable.
Let them go. Do not
Right.
charge them. They're charging them $10,
Yeah.
$13, $25,000 to as a bond.
Yeah, and to me
That's
that's unacceptable.
crazy.
And I do think that the CMPD, who has worked pretty hard to try to build a bridge and bridging the difference,
Sure.
right, with the Latinx community,
Mhm.
they need to come out and clearly say, you need to stop impersonating police officers.
Yes. Well,
But this goes back to what I'm saying about a city of appearances, because CMPD will do a great job of showing that they're
Working.
working towards unity, but they don't actually care about our
No.
people. I have been in Uptown and seen an officer pull somebody over for a traffic stop on one side of the street and completely ignore the person bedding down on a bench for the night who just needs a ride to a shelter. I have had CMPD officers stop me from giving somebody food in a parking lot
Wow.
because the person wasn't supposed to be in that parking lot because they're a known panhandler.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that the issue is, it's just like with anything else, right? Like there are I've met some really good people that want to make a difference in the CMPD, but then when you have
it's a
you have that. I mean, there are just a lot of
CMPD needs to
officers
get
like that.
better
Yeah.
trained. I just had an incident this week, Monday. I got called by one of our city undocumented person, and he was assaulted at a gunpoint, stolen his goods at a gas station right off of Albemarle Road, that quick trip. They did a report, fine. They did talk to him, okay. Well, they hand them out, and I took a copy of the police report of card, and the card only has the police report number. So then he calls me and says, okay, they arrested the guy. Well, for security purposes, I don't want to show the.
I need to put
Just
it
like
that
that.
is true.
Okay.
Yeah. They didn't tell him, okay, they arrested the guy. Here's your phone back, because they arrested, we found him. They didn't give him back his iPad and the other belongings. But they didn't tell him anything else.
sure.
The guy, I looked him up. He's arrested with a bond of, I don't know, I can't remember right now. Well, by the next day, he was already out. It happens to be that this person had been community threatened to this guy at a live killing matter. So I told him, okay, you gotta go to court. Let's go to court, because even though the police officers didn't tell you, let's go up there and find out what's gonna happen. We ended up finding out that he had already been out, that nothing got mentioned that he got assaulted or anything, or just the charges, and they were gonna appoint him an attorney.
Well, let me share that, and we hear stories like that. Those of us.
He's a Latino. He doesn't speak any English. The police officers didn't do their job right. They didn't call back. They didn't tell him, hey, this is what's going on, the investigation.
Sure.
there was no phone number where
Yeah,
he can
it-
call.
What it is, it's a lack of investment into the community where it's
I
like
think
just
it's a lack
bare-
of training at all.
Training,
for everything.
which typically will lead to just people doing the bare minimum.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And so that's
Well,
unfortunate.
and you know, one of the arguments that people I hear a lot, especially certain people on our city council, like my council person at Driggs, one of the arguments is we don't really need better police, we just need more police. And my argument is we need better police and not necessarily more police.
Right, I think it's
better
I
police.
agree 100%.
The poorer areas of Charlotte are already over policed.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a quality
We'll talk about
versus
You don't
quantity
get
issue.
stopped by one
Yes.
police officer. You get stopped by 4 different vehicles of police officers in the scene.
But
And some
that's-
of
And
them
it's
are 8
right,
of them.
absolutely,
But
because I've
that's
seen
what's-
it. I've
but-
seen it. You get pulled over
Yeah.
in the Ballantyne
Sure.
area. You know, you're driving your nice, you know,
Yeah.
car, right? You're only getting one cop.
One
who's just
cop.
coming
There
out.
you get 4 or 5 police.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have I drive a kind of a clunker because I'm on that nonprofit life and nobody gets paid, right? Right, Jorge?
I just got my car because I had it before the nonprofit.
Exactly, right?
And it's 1/3 of my salary now, so I'm glad I'm done paying that darn thing.
But I've got my anti-racist bumper stickers. I've got one that says "Keep the immigrants, deport the racists," and I can tell you how many times I've gotten pulled over just because the cops resented my stickers.
Not bad.
Oh, wow.
They'll make up
Wow.
some excuse, but they won't have.
Then
any
you need
reason
one
to
of
stop.
those "I support the police" bumper stickers,
Right,
and
right,
little,
yeah.
and little, you know, little things.
The
wink,
disclosure?
wink. Yeah, you know, whatever.
Sarcastic one.
But
Well,
to your-
I haven't put F12 on my license
Oh.
plate yet.
Yeah. And I gotta say this before we move on, but I totally disagree with Driggs.
Sure.
You know, it is not a quantity issue,
Yes.
it's a quality.
Yes,
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think most, and that's what goes to your point, and then we got to wrap it up here. To your point about where the city of appearances, those of us who come from or who've lived in other parts of the country
Oh, yes.
are just, and I jokingly say, those of us who've just been in the real world just a nanosecond, understand. It boggles my mind that we have corporate America, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Honeywell, all the big companies that are moving here and that move here, all the people that live here, that the education level is so high here in Charlotte region. We live and we breathe in the corporate world, but yet we allow the city to be run like Mayberry. In other words, we need to run the city more professional in how we view our citizens and how we view our police. You know, anyone who says anything about the police is automatically labeled, well, you're anti-police.
support.
No, I love our police.
Right.
I mean, they protect us, and but that's a job that they have taken.
The police don't protect the people. Police protect
Property.
social order.
Yeah, that's right. And they
And
protect,
if if you are at the bottom of that social order, they don't care about you.
well, but there's a lot of very good CMPD. Thank goodness we have a new sheriff. I was so excited last night at the Moms Demand Action event. We did have 2 lanes, whatever that term is. The liaisons or
Liaison?
liaisons. Yeah, see those fancy
Liaisons.
words. I can't use more than 3 syllables.
I learned it last week.
Okay,
Good stuff.
excellent. Usually
Did I graduate today?
You made it.
Ruth knows. Usually Jeff Scott's here, and he's the one that corrects.
Yeah, he corrects our
Corrects our speech. Our speech. That's right. He corrects our speech. It was great to see the 2 CMPD members there being involved in the community, and there was also 2 members from the sheriff's department that were there as well. And one of the gentlemen from the sheriff's department, and I'm not sure he realized how he said this, but he got up and you could tell he's been with the department for a long time. And he was kind of an older white guy. And he said, they were talking about guns and gun safety, and he said, and now that we've got this new sheriff and he wants us to be involved in the community more.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Whoa.
I know he didn't mean it like
Right,
that,
right.
but you could tell he was.
Intent is not magic. He still said it.
No, and it was. I almost wanted to say.
Yeah.
Uh,
And gosh, I gotta say this.
Well, I do
There's
agree
a-
with it
yeah.
because last year, last year when we did the International
Yeah.
Women's, did we see any sheriffs in that?
Yeah.
Well, and
But I'm
I-
glad, I'm glad they were there.
Big
But
sign?
apparently this was so painstaking for him to
Right.
be in the
Yeah.
community.
Well, and I know there's an officer, great officer.
Yeah.
I personally know him. His name is Officer Costner. And you can follow him on Instagram. You know, he's got a big presence, mostly because of the work he does in the community. So big shout out to Officer Costner. You're amazing. We need more you. But Officer Costner has really gone above and beyond he works over in the Renaissance West area.
Oh,
and,
okay.
doing a lot of work with all the kids know him, all the parents know him. He is community policing.
Sure.
Well, it's frowned upon by some, not all, but some of his peers, because I'm sure they've told him, and what I hear, not directly from Officer Costner, but from others, is that guy's making it hard for us.
Yeah.
We gotta give credit to our people that are commenting. Margarita, hi Margarita, thank you. She put a message and said, I consider the message needs to change. Instead of going forward, politically talking is going backwards.
Yes.
Why we, a Hispanic community, are prosecuting instead of other minorities? Because, well, I'll read it. She wrote it already?
Yeah, go ahead. But go ahead, read
Are
it.
you reading it? She put, CMPD is inhuman. I remember Jeff told me not inhuman.
Inhumane.
But I know. I have had, have you read it? Can you read it?
Yeah,
it's right there.
CPD is inhumane. I have had bad experiences with them, bad attitude, and always profiling. I'm very disappointed. Indeed, lack of training and lack of common sense. And that's, Margarita, that seems to be the conversation that we have, I hear from many people, but we also hear, some. I don't want to knock CMPD all the time, but it is a job. It is a the profession that they have made a decision to enter. That we do have expectations of those who work for us as taxpayers. But and I apologize, y'all, but one last thing, then I have to come to the close of the show because go ahead.
There are very, very good reasons that people are not open to greater CMPD involvement. 25% of people in the legal system have disabilities, as opposed to 16% of the population as a whole. They're hostile to the transgender community. One of my best friends is, a couple of my best friends are trans. They're basically family. They're hostile to the queer community. They're obviously hostile to undocumented folks. If we're going to talk about protecting and serving, who are they protecting and serving?
Well, and that's a conversation that we have. And we also have people who are watching us who are saying that we love our police.
Yeah, we do.
And thank you, Ari, for adding that. And
Thank
we do,
you,
and,
yes.
and we do love our police. But I think, and this is what I'm talking about, city of appearances. If we were to run our city like any business in America, anytime you have a hit to your image or your brand, you want to fix it. And we obviously have a hit to our brand, our CMPD brand, our image. And the goal should be to try to fix that.
Well, and I think
they can start by stop killing people.
And the big dent did start in 2016, in my opinion, right, with the Keith Lamont Scott shooting.
Exactly, yes.
But again, I agree. I think I've met amazing police officers, and on a personal level.
Yeah.
When you say Scott Lamont issue, that was one out of many others, but the community decided to come out this time.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
So
we'll get back on track.
So Ruth, we are running out of time, and I want to thank all of you guys because your time is valuable, and I want to respect your time, and we could go on forever and ever. And I want to invite you guys back out anytime you want to. We'll put you on the schedule. Of course, we're on every Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. And at full disclosure, we've said all the time, I know Ruth has a Jeff Scott button, but I want to invite anyone from CMPD or family members who are from CMPD to come on our show and to tell us the things that they're doing. Just as I have invited those who are, because we're going to talk very, very, only like 15 seconds about the NCO9 update. We've invited Dan McCready to come on our show to tell us why people should vote for him in the new special election. Anyone who's a supporter of Dan McCready, anyone, yes, anyone on the Democratic Party who wants to tell us why he's a Democrat, or we want to encourage. We also want to invite Mr. Rushings, who's in Union County, the other person who filed, Matthew Rundhauer, who will be filing very, very soon. We want to invite all of you because this election, the NCO9 election, is going to be determined by a very, very small percentage of individuals. And there's probably going to be very low turnout because of the dates and times. And so I want to thank everyone. Once again, Jeff Scott is being interviewed by, and he's actually right now that I know of, the only candidate that has filed that is doing interviews, that is actually out there telling people where he stands. He's been involved in our community since he ran for city council. And what we talk about all the time is that any elected office should be considered a job interview. And if you do not show up for the job interview, don't expect to get the job. And so why it would be, yes, so we're going to end by, before I do our sponsors real quickly, thank you, Mrs. Blau Hattie Blau from Blau Catering, 704-805-0269. Kali Lily's event coordinator, talent agency. That is where if you want to sponsor our show or any of our projects, 980-477-1513. But we also need to read the Constitution, and then we'll let you guys give your information out real quickly. The constitutional quote of the week is
Amendment 12.
Amendment 12.
Amendment 12. Who would like to read that?
I can because I have it in Spanish.
Oh,
Dale, Ruth.
Dale. Go ahead.
go ahead.
You want to read it?
That's a
Well,
lot.
mine's in Spanish too. Then.
Oh,
You want to read it?
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sure, I've got no problem opening my mouth.
Awesome.
It's the law.
Amendment 12.
It is a long one.
The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant as the same state with themselves. They shall name in their ballots the person voted for as president, and in distinct ballots the person voted for as vice president. They shall make distinct lists of all persons voted for as president and of all persons voted for as vice president, and of the number of votes for each, which list they shall sign and certify and transmit sealed to the seat of government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall then be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be the president if such number be a majority of the whole numbers of elected appointed. And if no person have such majority, then from the persons having the highest numbers not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president, God, this one's long.
Yes.
That's the longest one here. Yeah.
The House of Representatives shall choose immediately by ballot the president. But in choosing the presidents, the votes shall be taken by states. The representation from each state having 1 vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. And if the House of Representatives shall not choose a president whenever the right of choice shall devolve upon them before the 4th day of March next following, then the vice president shall act as president in the case of the death or other constitutional disability of the president.
Can both die?
The person having the greatest number of votes as vice president shall be vice president if such a number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if no person have a majority, then from the 2 highest numbers on the list, the Senate shall choose the vice president, a quorum for the purpose of which shall consist of 2/3 of the whole number of senators, and a majority of the whole number shall be necessary to a choice.
Woo.
But no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States.
Yeah!
Ooh,
Yes.
awesome. You read.
It's not fair that for the next one it's Amendment 13. It's very short. I just want to point that out. A great job.
That was our constitutional book of the week. But once again, thank you guys for joining us. Tell us how they can access your group, your Facebook page, email, or if you are, we can put that on the.
Yeah, sure. QueenCityUnity.org.
Okay.
You can find us there or on social media at Queen City Unity.
Okay.
And I do have to say one more thing. I'm sorry
Sure.
to steal a few
No,
seconds,
go
but
ahead.
first of all, just to clarify,
Sure.
I personally believe in the CMPD.
Yes.
I just believe in what we were talking about,
Yes.
quality versus quantity.
Yes.
And the last thing is, in Charlotte, the biggest thing, if there's anything that I want to get a message clear to everybody, is we need to really just stop playing scared. Specifically, our politicians.
Yes.
Stop playing scared. Right, we are the largest city, right? We are the economic leader in the state of North Carolina.
Yes.
We need to lead.
Exactly.
And what we're doing is we're playing it safe and not leading.
Exactly.
So if you want to hear a little bit more about that, you can email me at jorge@queencityunity.org. And just thank you for having me.
I
Excellent.
have
Thank
something to attach to your quote because you kind of were connected.
Girl,
here-
you know we're running out of
I'm
time.
gonna upload y'all. I love
Look what
quotes.
I did now.
I love quotes. So
Okay.
not all cops, not all city council, not all mayors, not all city managers, not all are bad. Not all African Americans aren't taught Dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs. All whites aren't racist. If we come together and unite as one, we can be an unstoppable force.
Exactly. And how can we get a hold of you or what you're doing?
Check us out on Facebook at Project 70 Forward. That's 70 and the word forward, FORWARD. We have a food giveaway coming up in May for Jorge and Queen City Unity actually partnered with us on our last one. We fed over 200 people.
Oh, wow, wonderful.
And with a large donation to the temporary homeless shelter that was in the neighborhood as well. So we'll have more information about that coming up. You can also follow us on Instagram at Project 70 Forward, and our website will be launching soon.
Okay.
Also, I do have to say that my views are mine and not necessarily the views of my organization. So don't get mad at the organization for the words of the dirty hippie coming.
Hey guys, you want to announce tomorrow's meeting?
Yes. While we're doing that, let me go ahead and start our indie music. Alexa, play Pandora.
Anyways, we have a public meeting. The city's been doing a couple of meetings. So tomorrow's Thursday. I invite all the community. We need your word out there at 7 p.m. at the Charlotte Bilingual Preschool. That's at 6300 Highland Avenue. I'll be posting this into our Cafe and Pastel, Cafe and Pandulce's page also, so we can share it and come out, show up, tell the city what you want to change.
Also, just mark your calendars if you haven't already. On March 30th is the Cesar Chavez Dolores Duarte March.
Yes, the Saturday.
Which is from the Latin American Coalition to the Action C or the International House.
Yeah.
And there's also a movie that will be playing after that. And I understand, rumor is there's maybe some food, which always attracts people. So please mark your calendars for that. It's a 3-mile march, and we do hope you join us as well. We'll be walking by CMPD.
We did that last year.
Hopefully to thank them for some of the things, if we can get them to do some things or ask them to make a stance on certain issues. So thank you so much for joining us, and please come back. Thank you for making this a wonderful show. Enjoy the wonderful sun that is out there. Hopefully we'll get some sun and at least give our grass chances to recover from the Seattle-like rain that we had in the last month. Thank you. We'll be next week on Coffee and Pandulce at Wednesdays at 10 in the morning. And I believe we haven't confirmed it, but we may have a special guest who is running to become our new Democratic chairperson of the Mecklenburg County Democratic Party, which I hope gets elected because we do need a new chairperson. We hope she will be here or someone who represents her.
Awesome.
So thank you very much, and I guess we'll fade out
Bye.
now. Since my music-
Bye, everybody.